Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie from the subreddit HFY, called Billy Bob Space Trucker Chapter 21, written by Legal. The link to the original will be down below, and as always I hope that you enjoy. Matriarch Liasbath was so far beyond furious that she had circled back around to being perfectly calm. She stood before her cast leaders who were still alive and in her command, staring them down as none dared to meet her gaze. The operations against the humans had not gone well. At first things seemed to be in order, their ships met minimal resistance, and the colonists were bombed and captured relatively easily, albeit with more difficulty than most species. Then the Americans struck back, and their core system, Verneath, had been utterly annihilated. They were still going over the reports, trying to figure out how the Americans had managed to get a fleet so deep into their territory without anyone knowing. They glassed most of their cities and sent ground troops to take R&D facilities scattered over the planet. Once they'd taken all they could, they destroyed the facilities as they left the planet. In the wake of their destruction, they had also left a recording of the American leader. He simply stated that if the Crusticans continued to attack civilian targets, America would continue to attack civilian targets. The hunter-killer teams had managed to kill and capture about 20,000 human colonists, mostly thanks to seizing a colony transport en route to an outlying agri-world. Meanwhile, when the humans struck the Verneath, they had killed around 500 million, including the hunter-killers in orbit. The matriarchs were furious at having terms dictated to them in such a fashion, but if they didn't agree, the Americans would wipe them out before they could even prepare an actual defense. They left behind a number of the captured colonists to return a message that civilian targets would be left alone. But this wasn't the worst of it. Indeed, after they pulled back with about 5,000 captives, other teams had moved onto the Libertonian colony. And while they brushed aside their initial orbital defense and landed on the planet, another human fleet showed up, landing massive numbers of ground troops which completely halted the first Crustican invasion. The reports from the field were disturbing indeed. These humans couldn't fly on their own like the Libertonians, but some of their number had something called jetpacks, which let them fly just as well. Then there were reports of humans who had some sort of adaptive skin that could change colors. How else could they explain why a team of hunter-killers would scour an entire area before advancing, only to be picked off by a long-range ballistic weapon from an area they'd found no humans in just minutes before? The energy shields that had been in standard use in the galaxy for centuries were proving useless against these sorts of weapons. Thankfully, the humans didn't have the tech to employ such shields, but it appeared for now that they lacked biogel. But how long this would last, the matriarch didn't know. The main reason she stared down at her surviving caste leaders that had nothing to do with the ongoing invasion and war, however, but it had everything to do with the Polvian Museum on the planet beneath her ship. How is it that 2 individuals killed so many of your team? 2! Matriarch, they stole the Libertonian power suit, and we had matter slammers. It should have gone down with a few hits. Well, the cast leaders fell quiet. No one knew the answer really. By all rights, they should have killed the 2 terrorists easily. But instead, they lost almost all of their squads they sent. There were more than 5 more showed up. One ventured as the matriarch hissed and approached the cast leader. After we had cornered the injured ones, and how is that those 5 showed up? There were no reports of human ships in the area. Where did they come from? They didn't just, she gestured with her claws, fall out of the sky, now did they? The cast leaders were quiet as she paced back and forward in front of them, hissing and chittering. Her hydrating mucus had been yellow for a full sleep cycle, which indicated how dangerous she was right now. Finally, she calmed down enough to continue. That ship has not left orbit. The infernal blinding cylinder they had kept me from tearing them to pieces when I arrived, but I know I saw it fly towards the wilderness. There were 5 of some sort of black exoskeleton-like species, a Libertonian and 1 injured human. 7 terrorists alone and are stranded on this planet without support. You will find them. Her limbs twitched in anger as she thought about how close that she had been to ripping them apart before they'd stunned her with those bright flashes. Matriarch, about the human captives we're transporting here. We'll use them as bait to lure the others out. She waved a claw dismissively, but then turned to the one who'd mentioned it. Did you acquire pictures of them? The young cast leader handed her a data slate, and she looked at it curiously. They come in different colors. How interesting. Does that change the flavor? The cast leader wasn't aware of the matriarch's particular diet. Taste. I don't. Never mind. I'll take that one. And this one. Have them delivered to my hunting grounds. She tapped on the picture. Strip them first. I don't want to be picking fibers out of my teeth. The young cast leader made a grave mistake. Your hunting grounds, but matriarch, these are prisoners of war. Besides strict council laws, the Americans were very specific. He didn't get any further as she hissed and charged him, her foreclaws piercing his body, and she bit his head off in one single bite, spitting it out and tossing the body into a wall, leaving the cracked shell to be picked over by the juveniles. She hissed out the cast leader, shifted, and skidded away from her. When you find that injured human, you will bring him to me as well. I swear that I'll feast upon this, Billy Bob, space trucker. There was a groan as he slowly opened his eyes, and he saw the big black bug standing over him. He jerked in surprise. Then before he could try an attack, or anything else, the figure raised its hands. Whoa, settle down there, I'm human. Billy Bob relaxed then as he tried to figure out where he was. It took him a few seconds before realizing that he was in a bed in his cabin. Mittens was sitting on the counter at the back of the ship, staring at him, but it looked like it was just him and The frick are you? Billy Bob finally said, feeling woozy and lightheaded. Archangel. Oh, holy crap, I didn't think that I rated that high. Maybe some jarheads and a cruise missile or two. No, the bigwigs decided that you're worth a lot more than that. Billy Bob groaned a little as he shifted in his bed and then paused, tossing his sheets down from his upper body, and he pulled his right arm to reveal his arm. He turned it over slowly, opening and closing his hand as he did, and then he frowned a little. He looked disappointed. I was kind of hoping to find a robot arm, harder, faster, strong, and all that. The figure chuckled. Never found someone disappointed to get their arm back after losing it. Besides, we're on your ship, unless you've got a fully stocked medical suite and some spare robot arms around. Fair enough. How? The purple gunk your friend had, she's used all of it on you. So don't lose your arm again, 'cause there isn't any more. What is that stuff anyway? I've never seen someone heal up so fast. You'd have to ask Dr. Goldsmith. He gave it to me. Ah, a doctor gave it to you. No wonder I couldn't read the writing on the side. It was such a bad scribble my translator tried reading it. He's not human. He's one of those space goblins. What? A Xeno named Goldsmith? Yeah, that's what I said. But you met Emily, right? Yeah, but I thought that was a fluke. No, apparently more Xenos have normal names than we thought. Speaking of, what's yours? Figure reached up then, tugging the black helmet and pulling it away to reveal a woman with dark skin and a shaved head. Khaleesi Johnson, medic and demo expert. Khaleesi? God, I haven't heard of anyone with that name in ages. Yeah, it is old-fashioned, but I was named after my great-grandmother. Billy Bob shrugged at that, kind of ironic, but it sounds like more of a Xeno name than Emily. The woman smirked at that, and then turned to someone else entered the cabin through the airlock. He didn't hear the engines, so they should be on a planet somewhere. There were two more of those black armored figures, which he now recognized as the new Special Forces power suits. They were a far cry from the beast Emily had been driving, piloting. But it was good to see humans were starting to catch up on tech. How's he doing, Cal? Good enough to frick your mother, Billy Bob quickly shouted, and laughed before groaning and clutching his ribs. Worth it. The assembled archangels chuckled at his outburst. Seriously though, sir, he's in remarkable shape for someone who had his arm cut off and a puncture through his gut, not to mention those energy bolt hits and the general abrasions from being knocked around. Jesus Christ, I got the crap kicked out of me. We get it. They chuckled again. Whatever is in that purple gunk is amazing, if we could get it into our hands. The Archangel, who hadn't spoken yet, chipped in. Frick, if we could copy that power suit, I'd be happy. That thing is great. Don't forget that they're our allies now. I'm sure they'll share. Billy Bob smiled at that. No crap. Americans' first non-human allies. The apparent officer nodded at that. What do you know about what's been going on? 2 things, Billy Bob said with a smile. Jack and shit. You aren't what I expected from a pilot, Carl said. Yeah, well, I wasn't some poncy snob on a regular fighter. I piloted a gladiator. Totally different animal. So, it would seem, the officer spoke up. Well, you've managed to start an intergalactic war. The crabs have started hitting UHG colonies. We think they wanted to hold a number of civilians hostage and make you surrender your friend. Ah, so that's why we hit their planet. Was that the rescue mission? No, that was just us making it clear that we won't tolerate further attacks on civilians. Current estimates have it at 5,000 captured and around 12,000 dead. Jesus Christ, it's that bad. Crap, I had no idea they wanted to stop us that bad. Frick, I didn't even know that these arse-faced crabs were cops till they ambushed us in the museum, and Emily told me. Also, how long ago was that? 2 days. You've been out for a while, Carl said. Where are we? We're on the same planet. Their AA is covering everything. We're working on an extraction right now. Good thing is, for an old, well-developed planet, they've still got a lot of wilderness. Billy Bob nodded at that. Xenos don't seem to take much care for much of the frontier spirit, do they? Speaking of Xenos, though, how's Emily? She's fine. We've been teaching her about the benefits of camping. The leader said as the 2 chuckled. Billy Bob pushed himself up with a groan. His arm felt incredibly sore, but seeing as it had been cut off, he'd take incredibly sore. Whoa there, Carl said as he tried to stand up. You've been out for 2 days. Take it easy there. Billy Bob was feeling the heat a little as he just growled out, I'd like to see you stop me. And then he paused and looked up, remembering that he was talking to an archangel in a power suit that could likely kick his rear even without it on her worst day and him on his best. On second thought, please don't try and stop me. Carl laughed at that and held out one giant black armored hand as he steadied himself on it. Then he looked back at his bed and thought for a moment, wait, I was out for 2 days, how did... You didn't have to go. Thank God your friend said it was a side effect of the purple gunk. Thank God, he murmured. He was wearing his standard olive drab green boxer briefs, a plain white t-shirt. He was positive the archangels had all the same undies, or at least the male ones. Everyone stole the GI boxer briefs after their service was up. They were actually high-quality super stain and smell-resistant, and for once they weren't made by the lowest bidder. Overall, despite his space-age undies, he smelled like a guy who hadn't showered in 2 days. But that could be worse. I'll just take a shower, right? They each shook their heads. What, why not? We're out in the wilderness, remember? Conserve water, just in case. The officer said as Billy Bob groaned. Now he sounds like a pilot. Carl said as they laughed, and even Billy Bob smiled. And then he nodded at the officer and the other. And who are my rescuers anyway? Ah, I'm Captain Crunch. Yes, like the cereal guy. Billy Bob had opened his mouth and then quickly shut it. This is Sergeant Sampson. We met Sergeant Johnson. Outside we have Sergeant White and Ivanich. He's a loner from the Spetsnaz. What's the point of having a squad of sergeants? That's the lowest rank possible we'll accept into the Archangels. Billy Bob nodded. Well, all right then. Just makes me glad that I'm not in the military still. He paused then as the 3 of them looked at him as if his brain started to catch up. Except war was declared, and I'm guessing all reserves were recalled. Frick. Welcome back, Lieutenant. God damn it, and I'm immediately outranked by a captain. Isn't military train a command wonderful? Billy Bob groaned, and then a light bulb went onto his head. Wait a minute, I'm valuable. He couldn't see the reaction of the other 2 with their helmets on, but Cal was arching her brows. I want an immediate promotion. If I'm going to be important enough to warrant all of this attention, I'm important enough to get promoted. You've got to be joking, Sergeant Sampson commented. The hell I am. I might as well milk this, because I'm guessing that you guys are here more for Emily than me, and I'm guessing that she's important enough to pull the strings diplomatically to ensure that I get a promotion. He wasn't wrong, and they all knew it. That, as it may be, Lieutenant, Captain Crunch stressed, none of that will happen until we're off this planet. Frick, Billy Bob muttered, since he knew that he was also accurate. Well, what are the chances you guys are heading back to the museum on your own? None to less than none. It's crawling with crabs. Why would we want to do that anyway? They've got the Voyager in there. There was a pause before the captain spoke up. As in, the Voyager. The first man-made object to leave the solar system. Yes, that one. Tempting we couldn't get it out with our crew this small. But you might be able to destroy the Nazi rocket that they have in there. They say that was the first craft to leave our orbit. No fricking way, Sergeant Sampson said at the same time as Carl said. The fricking Nazis. Seriously. Where do you guys think I got my snazzy MP44 Luger, huh? The captain began and stopped. For some reason that didn't even occur to me. And where's my iron cross, huh? He turned and looked at Carl, who glanced around for a moment. Iron cross? I didn't see an iron cross. Billy Bob glared at her until she sighed. I stored it in a box in the cargo hold. Ha! Sergeant Johnson taking personal effects from a wounded officer. That's grounds for punishment. Yeah, it is, Buddy Bob said with a grin. Do you want to press charges, Lieutenant? You're damn straight Wait a minute. What are you talking about? He asked as he looked at the captain. Court-martial. Oh. No, never mind. I was thinking of something very different. They all stared at him. What? It's been a while and I nearly died the other day. So you haven't, the captain said, and sort of left it hanging as Billy Bob frowned as he tried to determine what he meant. And then his eyes widened. What? With Emily? They all nodded. No, she's a diplomat and, Zeno, I've never, What? Like never? Asked Carl. Not with a Zeno. Why not? Some kind of prude? Asked Samson. No, I just, back in high school they showed us these projections. The captain stopped him there. No, you just stop right there. Our generation swore to never mention those ever. Ever. Sorry, but they were asking. Carl looked incredibly confused and Samson likely was under his helmet. Didn't you hear that was all fake, to scare us away from that sort of thing? Yeah, but how long before you risked it? The captain was quiet for a while. Fair point, but no, nothing like that exists. Why were you guys asking anyway? Billy Bob asked as he glanced around. The way she talks about you, Carl said as the others nodded. She mentioned that we needed to be careful of your sensitive neck. Billy Bob frowned at that, tilting his head back as he wondered what she meant before realizing across his face. Oh, are you freaking kidding me? You know how if we like someone we might give him a hickey. They bite each other's throats. She tore my carotid and I nearly bled to death. All she did was give me their version of a hickey. The others remained quiet for a moment as that sank in, before Billy Bob continued, and I learned that all of their hands end in razor-sharp talons. You guys like it when your partner scratches your back. She'd rip my flesh from my bone. Yeah. How's that for a dating a Zeno? Plus, I don't know if her, plumbing is similar to ours. After all, she's a space eagle raptor. As he said that, all let out a sound of someone who just heard something that clicked. That's what they are. We were just calling them birds, but space eagle raptors. See, when we heard about the claws and saw them pointed beaks, space eagle didn't sound right. Sergeant Sampson was saying. Totally agree with you, Billy Bob. Space eagle raptor, Carl said as she nodded, before Billy Bob spoke again. Right, well, you're all talking about me doing, that with a space eagle raptor. I like Emily a lot, more than any Xeno ever before. But better than most humans. But, that stuff might actually kill me. Literally. I don't know if I like her enough to risk dying for. Like that. Frick, I'd take a bullet for her. But, I don't know. The captain stood forward, looking down at Billy Bob. Well, Lieutenant, you want a promotion, right? This is how you get it. The fate of humanity's first Xeno alliance, and it's an incredibly important alliance. At that, now that sparked an intergalactic war rests on you keeping a diplomat happy. So do your country proud, and you make sure that Xeno is happy. Billy Bob winced a little, but the captain stuck a finger into Billy Bob's chest. No, you know I'm right. It doesn't have to be now, but you better figure out how to repay her feelings. Now, just get out there and let her know that you're all right. Billy Bob sighed and nodded, slowly limping out the airlock. Once he was gone, Carl spoke up. I really don't think our alliance is reliant on them, doing it, sir, and I'm fairly certain that she'll understand if he was hesitant. Oh, I'm sure you're right in both counts. She's very nice, but if he thinks he's getting a promotion without working for it, then he's wrong. Now then, let's go figure out how to get those star-crossed lovers off this planet. The archangels chuckled and walked out of the airlock, leaving Mittens alone in the cabin. The cat quickly took over his chance, jumping from the counter to the nice warm bed with the one who normally fed him had been hogging for so long. He curled up happily on the warm bunk and began to purr. And so ends another chapter in the adventures of B-Robbo Space Trucker. I hope that you enjoyed. If you'd like to support the channel or the author, all the stuff is down below. And as always, I hope that you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next story. Cheers.